So we are going to look at the roles of a UX designer and the roles of a UI designer. Like I explained, I said I feel we all understand what UI means and what UX means. I feel I've explained everything you need to know about the UI and the UX. So let's take a look at what the UX designers do and what the UI designers do. Why do people call it UI UX? Right? So I want us to have more understanding about this by looking at the roles of these designers. So firstly, let's take a look at the roles of these UX designers. In the last explanation, I said the UX is the experience of the users, the user experience while they're interacting with a product. What do they feel when they're interacting with this product? So the designer in charge of what people feel when they're interacting with this product, we call them the UX designers. So let's take a look at the roles of these designers. The first thing they do is they conduct what we know as the user research. Right? So before we design a product, or before we know that this product will be the experience people are going to get from this product will be a good user experience, the first thing people do, the first thing designers will do is that they conduct research. You cannot design a product without a research, because if you look at the things in common, we have the users in the user interface and the user experience. The things in common are the users. So designers ensure that we make research about these people. When we make research, we know their pain points, we know the behaviors of these people, their motivations. So this will help us to know how people will interact with these products. Without a research, we cannot design a product that will be functional. So user research is something, in fact, is a very important thing, the vital thing designers do before a product is being done. So the next thing is the information architecture. After they've made research, they know this is what my users are going through, these are their pain points, these are their behaviors. So they will now structure the research, they will now form it in a way, in the information architecture format. So the information architecture is a way of structuring and organizing content in an effective way, right? For example, let me show us what an information architecture looks like for us to understand these things more. So this is an information architecture for Spotify. I don't know, it may not be clear here, but this is incoming. So this, let me show us for WhatsApp. Okay, yeah, this is the information architecture for Spotify. I got this image from Google. So if you open your Spotify, you can see your home. So when they've made research, they know before the app is being launched or before the app is being designed, they know this for the home section. These are the information that we are going to have for the home section. They structure, they organize each content of every page that they're going to have, of every feature. They structure if you can see, this is an information architecture format. This is the information that they have on the home page. For the browse, you will see the charts, the new releases, the podcast, the discover features. So everything will be structured like this after your research has been made. So this is just a dummy sketch for WhatsApp. When you open WhatsApp, you see different charts, you see archive charts. So if you see, these are the features on WhatsApp, whereby if you open WhatsApp, you see charts, statuses, calls, settings, and the likes. So when you check your settings, you see accounts, privacy, avatar, chats, notification, and the likes. If you open your calls, you see create links, outgoing, just your call history. So the UX designer ensures that after they've made research, they ensure that this research that they made, they will structure them in an information architecture format. So let's look at the next one, the user flow. User flow is just talking about the visual representation of how users will go through when they are making of your products. Let me use the journey, the interaction of the products. What do you, for example, if you want to purchase a product, the first thing you do is you check the product. You can add it to your wish list then before you now make a purchase. So the journey, the flow of what you are going through the UX designer also put that into consideration. Then the next one is the wireframe. So the wireframe is just like a skeleton of every design we see. Before a design is being done, a wireframe must be done at first. So the wireframe is a structure, a way to structure our content or pages in an effective way, in a functional way. Right? Let me show us what the wireframe looks like for us to understand. So all these things I'm explaining is the UX and the UI. Right? So you can see this part. So this is the wireframe. Before this particular stage, they would have done this is like a skeleton, right? Whereby they put the structure, how your content will be arranged, how it will look like. So this is the wireframe topics. You are going to understand these things more. The next topic I'm going to discuss about, I feel we are going to understand this thing more. But this is what a wireframe looks like. You can see how it looks like. So this is what a wireframe looks like. So let's look at the next one, which is the role of designer. So the first thing that every UI designer must do is that they collaborate closely with the UX. You know, I said the UX, they conduct research, they do the information architecture, they do the wireframe. So the UI designer cannot just stand alone. They need to collaborate closely with the UX for them to have a visually appealing product. So this wireframing that I just showed us, this wireframing, when they collaborate with I'm just using this as an example, but when they collaborate with the UX designers, they will now use the what they've gotten to now design a product that is visually appealing. You can see this is when they now start adding their colors, their buttons, making them aesthetically pleasing. So this is the role of a UI designer. So they must collaborate with the UX for them to have a visually appealing product that users see and they enjoy, right? The next thing is the interaction design. When they make use of a visually appealing product, they must also add interactions. Like I said earlier on, we design products that the UI designers, users interacting with a product. And I made mention of people that are probably using system for the meeting. There must have been some things we must have clicked on, must have been some buttons must have interacted with, right? For example, you want to delete a message. There will be something that will pop up, right? You are interacting with that product. And I also made mention of WhatsApp, whereby we are chatting with different people. Maybe if someone frustrates us, we may end up probably blocking the person. You are interacting with WhatsApp in that case, whereby you mute people, mute statuses, or probably you post. So you are interacting with WhatsApp as a product. So the UI designers ensures that these products that we are designing is not just visually appealing. We need to do some interactions behind this product. So we do the interaction design as well. Then another thing we do is the responsive design, right? Okay, back to the interaction design. Some interactive elements that we have under the interaction design are the buttons, whereby when we click on a button, what it will take us to, right? The font, like different, there are several elements under the interaction design. Then back to the responsive design. So the responsive design, as the name sounds, it means when something is being responsive in nature, whereby, for example, you have products, in fact, website products that when you make use of your mobile phone, you will still be able to access it, right? So designers ensure that products are responsive in nature, whereby it doesn't just work on tablet view or just on desktop view, but the mobile view, the tablet view, and the like. So this is another example. The next topic, I feel we should be able to understand it. So this is a desktop view for a law firm, and this is the responsive nature. This is a tablet view, right? So this is a tablet view for the desktop for the law firm website. You can see how it looks like. So we designers ensure that a product is responsive in nature, right? And the next one is easily accessible. What is easily accessible is talking about is that we design product that doesn't just work for a particular kind of user or a particular set of users. We ensure that our product is easily accessible for all different for different people. Let me put it that way. People that are disabled, they must be able to access your products, right? For example, you consider people with color blindness, you consider people that probably cannot see. If you check your phone, you will see opportunity to use voice to text instead of typing, right? So they've made that product accessible in that case. So these are the roles of the UI designers. And later on, we're going to understand what it entails. All right. So the next topic we're going to look at, which is going to give us more clarity about what I've been saying so far, is how UI UX works together. Why is it that you hear UI UX, you don't hear UI separately, or you don't hear UX, right? Why is it that people say I'm a UI UX designer? Or why is it that you just hear UI UX? Let me put it that way. So let's look at how UI UX work together. So I want us to know that every product we see, we cannot do without these two of them together. For example, if a client should approach you that I have an idea that I want you to help me implement, and he gives it to a UI UX designer, or he gives it to a UI designer or an UX designer, let me put it that way. So after you as a UX designer, you've done you understand the idea, and you've conducted series of research, the user research, you've structured it in an information architecture format, you've done the user flow, the wireframing, and you know that this product is very, very functional. Then at the end of the day, your client should meet you that, oh, this product that you helped me to do, or this product that is already launched, people are not making use of it. Then you yourself, you know, what have you done that you start questioning yourself that what is the reason, or why will people not make use of this product? Then you see that behind that functional product, the UI is very terrible. For example, maybe you know that deep down yourself, you know that this product is very functional, but that product, you see that, for example, if people are coming to the product, people cannot easily see the text properly, or probably the buttons are not are too close together. They are probably small and too close together, making users click on the wrong choices every time. The UI is just terrible. People are going to abandon such products, and they are going to move to your competitors' products. Or in a situation whereby reverse is the case, whereby your product is visually appealing. In fact, your product is what even attracts people, because the UI, when your product is visually appealing, people want to engage in your product. But you notice that when people come into your product, they still end up leaving that beautiful product, that aesthetically pleasing product. The experience they get from it is terrible, right? People are not going to, they don't like getting frustrated when they're interacting with your product. Probably they notice that if they want to purchase let's say they come to your website and they want to purchase, let's say, a book, for example, and when they come into your website, they notice that the book section is probably close to food items. Maybe you have to scroll down for you to see the books you are looking for. And when you even eventually get to that book, the books are not even sectioned properly. The experience is just frustrating. You are still going to leave that website and go to a better product. It's just as if probably you want to purchase a cake, and you see a very beautiful cake and you see a simple cake, but you don't know behind that simple cake, or a cake that is not beautiful. You don't know that behind that cake, the taste behind it is very, very sweet. Let me put it that way. But you go for and when you take a bite, you notice that the cake is awful, right? So the UI and UX, they work hand in hand. We cannot do without UI, and we cannot do without UX. To have a very successful product, we need the UI and UX together, right? It's just like the skeleton, the human body, whereby the skeleton serves as the UX, right? The flesh, the clothes we put on serves as the UI, right? So that's the UI and the UX part of design. They work hand in hand. We cannot have a bad UI and a great UX. and you cannot have a great UX and a bad UI. So we must know that they work together to have a very functional product. So let's look at the points I have here. The first one is the UI and UX plays a vital role in ensuring a product offers solutions to users' problem, right? When you have UI and UX together, the product you are going to get, you will know that this product is providing solutions to the users. You're able to solve this problem in a exciting and hassle-free experience. So the next one is when you are implementing UI UX in your design, you will know that this design is going to improve user satisfaction. It's going to increase usability, as well as going to have higher conversion rates, as well as your product will be a competitive advantage in the market, whereby your product is going to stand out. So the next one is a user-friendly product instills confidence in your users. Because if you have a product that, in fact, when people come to it, they can easily accomplish their goals. They don't get frustrated. In fact, the product is just user-friendly. You notice that you start getting more customers. People they'll want to remain in that product because they trust your brand. But in a situation whereby they come to your product, let me use my own experience. For example, I don't make use of my banking app again. I'm making use of this PalmPay and the likes, because my banking app, the experience I get from it is just so terrible. I don't even trust it. Anytime I want to make a transfer, or when someone wants to make a transfer to me, I will tell them to do it to my either Kuda Bank, PalmPay and the likes. So that fear is already there in the app, right? So you don't want your users to, you don't want to instill fear in your users, because they will know that this product that I want to make use of, there is a problem with it. So the next one is it helps reduce costs. In a situation whereby you conduct UI and UX at a very early stage, whereby you've conducted your research, your wireframing and the likes, you know that this product is very functional. It is able to solve users' problem, and you know that when people make use of it, they are going to have good user experience, as well as the interface is aesthetically pleasing, is user friendly. You will not have to start wasting another cost, whereby you start giving another designer or to help you redesign your product. Because there are cases whereby when people finish designing a product, they don't end up seeing customers, or they don't end up generating enough sales, because that product is having problem with the experience people feel, or the interface is not just good enough. So they have to make another cost for them to redesign the product. And to redesign a product, it's another huge sum of money for that. So let's look at the next one, which is the steps to consider before designing a product. What are the steps to consider? You can see that the product here is aligned, because I feel by now I've been saying products. I feel by now we should be able to understand what a product means. When you hear product, you should know they're referring to probably applications, websites, and the likes. So what are the steps to consider before you design a product? So I'll continue to say this. Every product we see, every application we see, every website we see, I want us to know that they all started with a problem, right? They all started with a problem. For example, let's say YouTube, for example. The person did not just wake up one day, and probably the person came up with the idea, but the person did not just give a designer to help him launch it like that, to help him design it like that. There was a problem. The person noticed it was difficult for people to learn online. It was difficult for people to also teach other people and also generate income. So YouTube came into existence, and it was in fact, it's still a very, very useful application. millions of people make use of YouTube. Uber, for example, it was difficult for people to move around easily to book rides, but now Uber is one of the most used application as well. So in a situation whereby an idea is being brought, you notice that, oh, this idea, this application, or let me just use this idea, it probably is not what people are facing. Let me use a common brand I think we can all relate with. Let's say power banks, for example, right? So before power banks came, the person must have thought, okay, these power banks, right? When NEPA takes, like when there is no more light, people find it difficult to charge their devices. Why can't we create a product that can help people have another means to be able to charge their mobile phones? And luckily, power bank is mostly used these days. But in a situation whereby in the old world, let me put it that way, there is nothing like power shortage. There is always light. And the idea also came. But the person knows that this product is not what people need, and the person still goes ahead to design such products. What will happen at the end of the day? People are not going to see any need to make use of it because they are not facing the problem. They will not see any need to actually purchase such products. So every product we see all started with a problem. It's not left to us to know this problem that I was able to identify. Is it what my users are facing? Will this problem be able to solve users' needs and the likes? So there are some steps, there are some things every designer must do, or every product must go through before it's being launched or before it becomes a successful product. So this is what we are going to look at, which are the steps to consider before designing a product, right? Steps to consider before designing a product. I believe we are going to understand these things. So let's look at the steps to consider before designing a product. So one thing we must know is that every product, like I said, they must undergo a particular step, which is the design thinking, right? The design thinking processes. So the design thinking process is a problem-solving approach that designers use to, when they see complex problems, when they encounter any problem, they make use of this design thinking. Before any product is being launched, before any product is being designed, they must consider this particular stage, this design thinking. So when they make use of this design thinking, you'll be able to tackle any kind of problem, right? There's no how you want to have a successful product without undergoing this stage, without undergoing this design thinking. There is no how you want to tackle or you want to build a product without making use of this design thinking. So there are 5 stages we must take note of in this design thinking, right? There are 5 important stages that every product must go through, or every designers must consider before a product is being done. So the first one is empathize, the second one is the define, the third one is the ideate, the fourth one is the prototype, while the last one is the test. So if you have a product and you can make use of these stages, I believe you have a successful product at the end of the day. So let's look at what these stages talks about. Let's look at each of them to have more understanding about them. So the first one is the empathize stage. So the empathize stage is the first, in fact, and the key stage that every designer must take note of, right? So the empathize stage, when you hear empathize in simple English, it means when you are feeling someone's pain, right? So before a product is being launched, you must be able to understand your users. You must be able to empathize with them. when you're empathizing with them, it means you are putting yourself in their shoes. You are feeling their pains, right? So if you have a product and you want to design it and you don't understand your users, you are not putting yourself in the user's shoes. I don't think you end up designing a product that is user friendly or a successful product. So empathy helps us to share the feelings of these users. When we put ourselves in their shoes, we're able to understand what they are going through, what they are thinking, what their pains, their frustrations. So how can we generate such empathy from them? So in design, there are things we must do for us to empathize with the users, right? So the first thing is there are different things that we must do, which are the like I said earlier on, the conducting of research, right? Now I'm always emphasizing on the user research. And when you're conducting research with the users, you'll be able to understand your users, whereby you interview them, one-on-one interview. So when you conduct interviews with them, they'll be able to pour out their frustrations. They'll be able to pour out their problems, right? So interview is one way for you to empathize with the users. Another way for you to empathize with the users is for you to send out surveys, whereby before you design a product, you ask questions. So when you send out surveys, they'll be able to fill out the questions and you'll be able to have more insights, right? So the next one is observations, whereby you observe the users in their environment. So observation can also be another way for you to empathize with your users. So let us all put it in our minds that empathy is a key point that we must take note of in every product we see. We must be able to empathize with these users, right? You can see I'm laying more emphasis on this. Empathy is the first stage we must take note of. So let's look at the second one, which is the define stage. These stages we are going to understand it very because it is easily relatable. We can all relate with these points that I'm saying, right? So the second one is the define stage. So I've said the empathy stage is when you put yourself in the user's shoes, you empathize with them. So when they're able to pour their frustrations, they tell you, this is what I'm facing. These are my pain points. For example, Uber, they tell you, it's difficult for me to get a ride. Right? They tell you, I miss appointments easily because of it's always, I can't easily see will I say a car to enter. But they can just list their problems to you. For example, they can tell you, my apartment is far from the main road. They will list several problems with you to you, probably during the interview stage in the empathy, right? So the define stage is when you now organize what you've generated from the empathy stage, right? When they are telling you, when you're interviewing your users or when you are conducting research, what you've gotten from the empathy stage, you will now state all the problems of these users, right? So the define stage is also known as the problem statement stage. So it is a second stage whereby you organize the information that you've gathered in the empathy stage and you form it into a problem statement, right? I don't even understand that part, whereby we state all the problems. I think I'm going to show us this for us to understand. This is a wireframe. I think when I'm done with the stages, I'm going to make us understand this point. So the define stage is the problem statement stage. Like I've always said, the problem statement whereby you are defining the problem. They've stated they've poured out their frustrations to you as the interviewer or the designer. So you now state the problem. So that's the second stage, the define stage. People also call it the problem statement stage. So the next one is the ideate stage, the third one, which is the ideate stage. So you cannot just have a problem. You cannot just state problems without having a solution. because we designers, our major goal is to solve problems for people, right? We solve different problems. There are problems, in fact, all over the world. So it's not left to us as designers to be able to use that problem into to formulate it into our innovative designs. So when you've stated the problem, you got into the define stage whereby you stated the problems of the users. Then you now move to the ideate stage, which is a third stage, whereby you now start thinking of how can I solve these problems that my users have stated. So the ideate stage is the when you now start thinking of ideas, you start thinking outside the box. You start brainstorming, right? So this is the brainstorming stage, whereby you start thinking, oh, this problem that my users have said, how can I solve this problem? So you can generate teams of designers, whereby you people are going to think of different problems, right? You can think of different millions of problems and write them down. No problem is a waste. No idea is a waste, rather. So you write every problems, every solutions down, every idea that you feel this app should be able to, or this website or this product should be able to tackle these problems for the users. So in summary, the idea stage is the brainstorming section, whereby you think of ideas to be able to solve the problems you've generated from the problem statement, from the define stage. So let's look at the third one, which is the prototype, right? So the prototype stage, in fact, is when you now start thinking, when you've done the idea stage, you've generated different ideas. This is the ideas that you've generated. You now filter the most relevant ideas. Because if you have like millions of ideas down and you want to implement it in your application will be too, in fact, it will be too choked. People will not see any need to make use of it, because different information is happening at the time, different features happening at the time will not give a user-friendly product. So you filter the idea that you think best suits your users have, the problems that you've generated from the interview. So the prototype stage is when you now start forming these ideas into a real life kind of scenario, let me put it that way, whereby you now start sketching your ideas out. You sketch out the ideas into a paper, then you now move to if you see that your sketch is good enough, then you now move to the wireframe, whereby you start visually seeing how your product will look like. So the prototype stage involves the sketches, the wireframing. Then the wireframing involves the low fidelity and the high fidelity, right? So when you've done with your sketches and your wireframing, is product to your users to see if this product has been able to tackle their problems. So it's better for you to check the wireframing in this format. In this format, you test it to your user before you move to this format, right? When you start doing your colors and the likes. This is the last stage, whereby you start presenting your products to the end users. You've done your product, you now start checking if there are problems. You start getting feedbacks and the likes. For example, if they see that this product is not what they need, if it's not helping them solve their problem, you move to the stages again. So one thing I want us to know is that these stages are non-linear, and you get to stage 5. Don't think you are done with everything. You can always go back to everything, right? So if they tell you this product that you've done doesn't suit my needs, you can go to the empathize stage and see, let me be able to interview the users again. Let me make research about these users. Or you go to the idea stage, whereby you start stating the problems again. So the design thinking process or the stages are non-linear, right? So you can test your design at probably the wireframe, whereby you send it out to users for them to make use of it, for them to interact with it, or the i5 for them to test it out. So when you design a product like this, be be you'll be shocked that the products you get out from it will be very successful, right? So let's take a look at this product for us to understand it more. So if you notice, I think most of us take notes here, right? This is a note-taking app, and if you notice, most applications for what we used to take notes. So note-taking, yeah. So this is a note-taking application. So if you notice, most times we forget to take notes, right? So this note-taking app, like, firstly started. So I want us to have like an understanding for what I've been saying so far, right? So the first thing I did, this is a note-taking app. If you can see the features, it has the recording, whereby you can use your voice to record your notes, and you can set alarms for you to remember notes that you've forgotten. So at first I made research, because the idea came, I felt, it was difficult for me to remember to take notes. So I was able to generate research. So these are the 5 stages in the design thinking processes: the define stage, the idea, the empathize, and the testing stage. You can see the things under the empathy stage. You can see the things there. So when I made research with the users, I was able to put myself in their shoes. I was able to interview them. So during the interview, people gave me their thoughts of why they don't take notes easily, right? So someone said his goal is to be able to easily take down notes, to be able to convert images to text. That was what the person said. And to get reminders to take notes. That was the idea of why the reminder came into the application. Then another one said, he said his frustrations why he's using when he's using other note-taking apps is that he finds it difficult in navigating some applications. He forgets to take important schedules, and there are some apps that require subscriptions. That was Oladipupo's interview that I made with him. So when I interviewed Favor, she said too many confusing features. She forgets important schedules, apps that require subscriptions. So one thing designers must do, because people will tell you their problems, so it's not less for you to filter problems that are similar with each other. You can have like 50 people that will tell you different problems. But how can you be able to analyze problems that you feel fit into what you are targeting? Is when they tell you problems, when you see problems that are of similar nature, this is what the majority of this is the problem majority are facing. So you can see she said apps that require subscription. So that was the problem Oladipupo said. So he said she forgets to forgetting important schedule. That was also a similar problem. So she said our goal is to be able to set reminders to take notes, be able to save all notes in one place, and take audio recordings of notes. So during the research, these are the questions I sent out. These are the questions I sent out. So I was able to generate the interview. I was able to generate the survey question, as well as I was able to conduct interview. So that gave me a lot of insights into how my product was to be designed. So you can see the problem statement. Many individuals always forget important things like events, ideas, and to-do tasks because of how difficult it is to manage their busy schedules and the important things they constantly have on their mind. So this was the problem. I was able to generate a problem statement, right? So at the end of the day, based on the research I got, I was able to use their insight, because if you design a product and maybe you were able to generate more insight, and you feel you want to design the product based on your assumption, not based on the user's assumption, at the end of the day, your product is not going to be a successful one. Because we designers, one thing we must avoid is assumptions. We must avoid anything assumptions in our designs. The first person said he wants he wants to be able to convert his images to text. So when I was able to generate the interview, this was the visualization of how the application looks like. So whereby this is the image of it, and it was able to convert to text. In fact, other features that are there. So I'm not going to talk much about this. All right, so that was the image to text. Favor said she wants to be able to take audio recording of notes. So that was the idea of the audio recording coming to place. So this is when you set calendars, you set alarms for you to remember notes. No, most of the problems that I generated during the interview stage was that people said they forget to take notes easily. So they want something to be able to remind them. So this is where you set your reminder. I didn't do it based on my assumption, right? Every designer, we must avoid anything assumption, like I said earlier on. So everything that I designed was based on what my users want. So the thing Favor said she wanted, okay, this is image to text, where you're scanning your images, where you snap your image. So this is when it is scanning. So that was when I interviewed Oladipupo, that was what he said, whereby you save your notes and the like. So that was the feature I was able to generate from the interview. So and Favor said take audio recording of notes. All this I'm saying, that I'm showing us, is for us to understand the need for empathy, right? So this is when this is the audio recording of notes, whereby you tap to record yourself. Instead of you typing, you can audio record, and this is when your recording is saving. These are the saved recordings. So all this I'm saying is for us to understand these things more. So the testing stage, let me try to see if I can display this for us to see, for us to understand it more. All right. So I said the testing stage is whereby you test your product. People will interact with it. So when they're interacting with the product, it will be as if your product is even launched, because you design everything in fact, you design all the features in the app. For example, when they're interacting with it, because you can see there is an application for Figma also on mobile, or you can even make use of it on your mobile phone, whereby you give your users to test it. You can see. So when they're interacting with this product, okay, this is what. If they see that this product is not not tackling their problem, they tell you, and you go back to the design thinking process it again. So when the users is testing it, you'll be able to have more understanding about your product. So that's the testing stage that I've used on the adding colors and the buttons is a way, right? So you can see whereby they record themselves and they like. So that's what I just want the design thinking process using an application. That was how I brought this, right? So let's look at I believe we all understand this. And if you don't understand this, you can reach out to us, right? So let's look at the last one. So the first thing is UI UX. In fact, UI UX is a very lucrative skill, right? The first webinar that I said, or the first session before I started this webinar, I made mention of technology being a very important thing in our daily lives. We cannot do without technology. Everything we do, the health sector and the likes, we need technology. Even in the next 50 years, we will still continue to use technology. And with the explanations I've said, you can see that UI UX is very, very important. And with the explanations I've said so far, I believe we should be able to understand why UI UX is very, very important, because we cannot do without applications. We cannot do without websites, right? They are very, very, very important. So UI UX is very lucrative. It is of a very high demand. In fact, it is a very high demand skill, because there are several industries that are springing up, more organizations and everyone wants an application for their product. Everyone wants a website. So no matter how designers are many in the world, there will always be job opportunities for all, because the skills are they are of high demand. Because industries, not just applications and websites, they want to be able to have a business. They want to be able to generate business goals from their products. I said the UX, we determine the experience of the users. We're able to conduct research. They want a successful product, in the sense that they want to be able to generate business goals from their product. So the next one is opportunity to work remotely. As easy as this is, it's very, very explanatory. I believe we all understand this point, because they are freelancers. You can either work physically, whether you work in an organization, or you can work remotely and still do other jobs, because most designers are remote workers. You can even be working, so when anybody comes to the file and they just access it, you can see this is someone as this is my mentor. She was accessing my product, right? She was accessing my application, and she's far away from me. You can see she made a comment about this application. So anybody far away your clients can just come to your products and just make a comment, and you just adjust it. Not the one other occupations whereby you start going there physically to make corrections. So this Figma as a tool is very, very important. It's very, very useful. So you can work remotely, just share your works with them and be able to see it. And if they have any corrections, they can reach out to you, probably via comments. They can just make a comment here, and that's all. So you can work remotely and still be doing other jobs. So I think that is a very good edge for us to work remotely. In fact, there are people that they've not even gone to universities before, but they are earning more than first class graduates. So your certificate is not really needed as a designer. One thing that every recruiter, before you get a job, one thing they check is your portfolio, which I'm going to discuss of the webinar, our portfolio review. So they check your portfolio. If they see that you're a very good designer, in fact, jobs are waiting for you. Nobody will ask you, what did you graduate with? Right? Nobody will ask, did you come out with the first class or did you come out with the pass? So your certificate is not really needed. So far you are a good designer, you're able to solve problems for users. In fact, you will not even be job hunting. Jobs will be looking for you. So the next one is the huge salary. So designers, anything tech, I would say, is a hot cake, right? So they have huge salaries. We designers, we have huge salaries, right? So like I said earlier, to even redesign a product, we charge. So anything UI UX, the salaries there are much. And in fact, just one client can change your life forever. Right, just one client, and there are some occupations that you sweat a lot for you to see that kind of amount of money. So the huge salary is because to even design a product from scratch, the money attached to it is very huge, right? So huge salary is one thing we must take note of for reasons for you to be a UI UX designer. So the next one is different career options. So you coming for this webinar, and then put it that way. You feel you are a UI UX designer and you feel the only thing we do is just probably the UI and the UX. But there are different career options in the UI UX design world. It can either be there are people that they are not really good at the UI, they are only good at the UX part. So there are people that they call themselves the user researcher, the UX designer, or the UI designer. Or you can be a UX writer, whereby you just write. So it's best for us to know UI UX as say. Because if you go abroad, other countries, there are people that their own work is just to make interviews, to conduct research, and they are getting paid, the UX part, right? Just there are people their own is just to structure how the information will be arranged, the information architectures, the information architect, then put it that way, and they are getting really paid. There are people that their own is just to write the content you see on websites, just write articles related to UI UX, and they are related to UX, and they are getting really paid, right? There are different opportunities, different career options in the UI UX. I feel we can research about that. And the last one is job opportunities. Like I've been saying, the job opportunities, there are several job opportunities in the UI UX. No matter how we are many, no matter how people springing up, more industries, more companies, more organizations will continue to spring up, and we cannot do without, these companies cannot do without us, right? Not only companies per se, every person cannot do without a UI UX designer, right? So job opportunities are, they are everywhere for designers, right? So we have come to the end of the webinar, and I hope you were able to learn a lot. And if you have any questions, make that in the comments, or you can reach out to us at Lex Academy, right? So that's everything we need to know about the webinar.